A Liberal MP is calling for backpackers who partied on New South Wales beaches during the COVID-19 outbreak to be deported. Now, hundreds of people were seen partying on Bronte Beach on Christmas Day in defiance of public health orders.
Authorities have condemned the gathering, but no arrests were made. Meanwhile, similar scenes played out on the north coast of the state, where a group of 300 backpackers trashed a beach near Byron Bay. Joining us now is Liberal MP and local member for the Northern Beaches, Jason Falinski. Good morning to you, Jason. Thanks for your time. These people obviously did the wrong thing. We just heard that from the New South Wales Police Minister. Do you really think, though, that backpackers should be deported? And what about people in this crowd who are Australian citizens? What consequences should they face?
Look, Eddie, that's a great question. What we saw overnight was a number of people on the northern beaches who didn't obey public health orders, who went to weddings, for example, where they socially distanced and did everything right, but they didn't obey the public health orders. They've been fined $1,000. People who breach these public health orders needed to be fined and need to be held to account. I mean, I come from a community that's pretty angry about this stuff. We have people who spent Christmas Day on their own, people in their 70s and 80s who couldn't see their families. 1 in 2 adults up here have made sure that they've gone and got COVID testing. So I suppose my community's pretty angry when they see 300 people congregating at Bronte, and when they're asked to move on, they won't. And I was, Brad Hazzard was asked about this. He said it was a matter for the federal government, and I think I'm reflecting basically the feelings in my community on this issue.
Yeah, and Jason, you can understand that, but I guess restrictions are evolving all the time, and it can be difficult sometimes for people to keep up with what's evolving and changing with the rules. Can you appreciate that?
Oh, Brett, I absolutely appreciate that. I mean, that's why the first thing that Kerry Chant says every day at her briefings is, can you please go to the website and see if you've been to one of the venues that's always evolving. This is a difficult situation we've had overnight. So yesterday, 100 people gathering publicly was okay. Today, it's only 50 in the rest of Sydney. In the northern beaches, it's 5 and 10, depending what part of the northern beaches you are from. But when the police ask you to move on and you decide not to, I think that's a different level.
And look, those people at the wedding, I think, were the exception to the rule. I mean, most people in the northern beaches, both the northern and the southern part, are doing the right thing. Jason, how's everyone going there? Because this is such a tough time on businesses. Normally, this is their busiest time of year, particularly where you are at Manly.
Yeah, look, I've spoken to a lot of businesses over the last week or so. All of them are doing it tough. This year's been okay for them. It hasn't been as bad as they thought it would be. They just want to get back to business, and that's why it's so important that everyone does their bit to make sure that this lockdown is lifted as quickly as possible. So when you see the sort of scenes that you see at Bronte, like you did last week or over the last few days, that's why a lot of people get very angry, because it's their livelihoods on the line. It's not just we're not playing games here. It's a lot of people are hanging by a thread.
And Jason, you're down there on the ground. The southern part of the northern beaches, restrictions are gently easing sort of day by day at the moment. When should the southern part of those northern beaches reopen, do you think?
Oh, Brett, I think when the health experts who have access to the health data, and the New South Wales Department of Health throughout this year has demonstrated that globally, they have managed this pandemic better than virtually anyone else in the world, if not in the world. So when Kerry Chant and her team of contact tracers are able to say, look, we can safely relax these restrictions again, that's when we should do it and not before. It's a tough call to make. I mean, I'm glad I'm not making this call, but they have shown throughout 2020 that they've managed to get the balance right.
Yeah, and it's a really hard balance to achieve, isn't it, Jason Falinski? Thank you so much for your time, and our thoughts are with everyone in the northern part of the northern beaches and also in the southern part of the northern beaches at the moment.